Hello, everyone, and welcome to our final episode of Season 1 of our podcast, Law That Leads. We saved the best for last, as today we will be highlighting my favorite practice area here at ALF, which is family law. To do so, I'm honored to have Brad Benedetto with me here today, who is not only the legal liaison for our Family Wizard app, but who also manages his own family practice in Detroit, Michigan. His role includes educating judges, attorneys, mediators, gals, and other family law professionals on our Family Wizard. Brad travels throughout the US and Canada, attending and presenting at dozens of family law conferences, roundtable discussions, and continuing legal education seminars each year. Our Family Wizard literally does not need an introduction. Nearly all of us who are involved with the family law world in some sort of capacity, we realize the value of OFW, and of course here at ALF we greatly advocate its use. And for those of you that are just tuning in, our Family Wizard is a platform which assists separated or divorced parents to navigate the complexities of co-parenting, especially in high conflict cases. More importantly, it enhances the overall well-being and stability of the children involved. And OFW essentially aims to improve communication, reduce misunderstandings, and create a more organized and cooperative co-parenting environment. It does so by its many amazing features, which can be tailored to each family's unique needs. So, like yourself, in law school, I studied specialized in a different area of law that I'm practicing now. What made you want to practice family law and ultimately be involved with OFW?
So, when I was in law school, I was just pretty much just throwing darts at a dartboard trying to see what stuck. So, I was fortunate enough to start as a law clerk in a law firm that had attorneys that practiced in numerous practice areas. Okay. And so I was working on projects ranging from, corporate transactional work to family law, criminal law, you name it. And really, I just was trying to immerse myself in whatever they were doing and trying to learn as much as I can. And during my time as a law clerk while in law school, I really started gravitating toward family law. When I graduated law school and started as an associate, I started to learn more about my employer and kind of different wrinkles of the business. And It turns out that they started funneling a lot of the family law cases to me because that just really wasn't the interest of the partners that I was working for. So it worked out. I loved it. It wasn't their cup of tea. And so I really got to jump right into family law from day one. And because I had been working there as a law clerk, they trusted me to work on those cases more or less autonomously, from the get-go. So I was working on family law cases, and I still am. And after some time, I was learning about our Family Wizard. I was having my clients use it, and kind of one thing led to another, and I was connected with an internal recruiter from our Family Wizard via the internet, LinkedIn.
Oh, wow.
And then, fast forward a couple months and several conversations with stakeholders within our Family Wizard, and I landed the job.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So how
cool.
has it been so far? I understand the head office is in Minnesota.
Right.
And you're based out of Detroit. So has that, I guess, in post-COVID world?
Yeah, it's an interesting setup. I spend a lot of time in my basement. So, it's certainly an interesting work environment coming from working in a law firm 5 days a week, sometimes weekends, and then going to spending a lot of time in my basement. It was an interesting transition at first. It was nice because I'm able to start work when I want, and when I want, as long as I'm getting my work done. I can take my dog for a walk at 11 o'clock if I want, or and I do get out of my house quite a bit because I travel all throughout Michigan and all throughout Canada with my role.
That's amazing. And I understand you're here in Canada this week, I guess,
right,
for a conference. So tell us a little bit more on what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Sure. So the main crux of my role is to educate professionals that work in family law on how our family wizard can help them. That I talk to justices throughout Canada, judges in Michigan, lawyers, attorneys, mental health professionals, paralegals, you name it. Pretty much anybody that work with parents. It's my goal to help them understand our family wizard to the best of my ability. So a lot of my work includes going to conferences, doing presentations. I mean, I've done presentations ranging from a one-on-one conversation over lunch with somebody to presenting in a large auditorium to thousands of people with several more thousand virtual. So it really just depends on a day-to-day basis. My goal is just to help the family law community so they can in turn go and help their clients use our software.
Yeah, and that's amazing. Obviously, we love our family wizard here. We recommend it to all our clients. And I have this conversation all the time with colleagues that we don't work in the same firm, but we still practice family law together. And a lot of the times we're talking about the benefits of our family wizard rather than, I don't think there is any negatives, to be honest.
Thank you.
So I think in our field, it's just an amazing tool because you can collect as many emails and text messages as you want as a client, but one little glitch could go wrong and it's all gone. Right. Because it's all technology. There's nothing tangible. It's not like, I do have clients that do print them out sometimes, so sure. I have to give credit to them. But it's just an added time and so much more work to be going through that.
Right.
When our family wizard already is the tool that you don't need to be doing all of that.
Right.
So I guess that brings us to the next question. I guess the two features that we discuss the most are the calendar and the info bank. Do you have any inside information on how someone can maximize the use of these tools?
Sure. So when I'm speaking to lawyers in particular, one of the best benefits that they can provide their clients regarding the use of our family wizard is just having an understanding of those features themselves.
Okay.
So, there's people like myself, lawyers all throughout the United States. I operate in Canada. We have lawyers in the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, you name it, and we exist to help professionals out. So if you ever have any questions in your professional and you think, I want to learn more about that shared calendar, reach out to us because we can help you understand it, and then that can be relayed to your clients. Beyond that, from a parent's perspective, there are tons of free resources available on our website. We have blog posts pertaining to every single component of every feature that we have, and those are completely free. A parent could just go onto our website and search shared calendar and then read all about it.
Right.
I would say even more so than that, one component of our family wizards offerings that a lot of people don't necessarily think about is our customer support. A lot of times when a customer of any product is thinking about customer support, they're going to go to customer support when something's wrong, not necessarily to go learn more about something. Mm-hmm. Well, our family wizard is a pretty robust software. We have lots of different features, and the messaging very well might be intuitive based on a parent's experiences with traditional text messaging or iMessage, but they might not be used to a shared calendar. So if they have any individual questions about, how do I make a schedule change request or something like that, I highly recommend that the parents reach out to our customer support team. They're available, they're available via phone, email, live chat on our website. We make them incredibly accessible. A lot of senior leadership within our company started with customer support, and we put a lot of emphasis into it. So by all means, I encourage people to reach out to them and use them as a resource.
That's amazing. And I guess, we have all of our clients. I've never had someone say, no, I'm not using this app. Everyone always says yes. But I do have friends where they're getting pushback, not necessarily from their clients, but from the other side. So what insider tips do you have, or what would your recommendation be for the other side that is reluctant on getting your app?
That's a very, very fair question. And that general sentiment is true all over the place. you always seem to have one parent that's ready to sign up the day that they're told about it, or right when they leave mediation or whatever it might be, and the other parent, for a number of reasons, could be dragging their heels. They might be apprehensive to cost. They might just be apprehensive because their other co-parent is so into it. You never know what the reason is. But one thing it's so important to be mindful of is the fact that a divorce or separation can be some of the most turbulent times in a person's life. Right. And so just reminding them about the fundamental, I guess, core of what we're trying to do. And that's that the use of our family wizard is designed to help a co-parenting relationship, which will ultimately trickle down to their kids, but it also is designed to save people money. Yes, there is an annual subscription fee, but if you compare that to the cost of ongoing litigation, it's a drop in the bucket. And so if someone's apprehensive about a subscription cost, all they have to do is compare that to what they would otherwise be spending if they were going to continue on in court, and I think that their answer would become clear to them. But beyond just the logical reasoning, because that might not even do it, there are tools that can be used. And what I do and what a lot of the other lawyers in my position do is that we prepare model order language for each specific jurisdiction that we work in. And there's no doubt in my mind that every professional listening to this podcast is perfectly capable of creating an order for their clients, but at the same time, I'm exposed to all these different barriers or friction points that people experience, and so they might not think to perhaps put a deadline on when someone's going to sign up to use our family wizard, or they might not think that if they're going to have ongoing litigation or professional support from other family law professionals, they might not think to order access for those professionals in the actual court order. So I definitely recommend any professional that's listening to take a look at the model order language in their jurisdiction. There is one available, and it can be incredibly useful and can illuminate different issues, like somebody not perhaps wanting to pay, and that can help ease the transition and get the clients onto it as soon as possible.
That's a really good point. And I guess the next segue to this is virtual parenting, which I know you recently wrote an article on this, but here in Canada, virtual parenting was nearly unheard of. Even in the most serious domestic cases, it would still be either supervised access, but still in-person access. There was no such thing as virtual until COVID came along. So I guess it was the one benefit in family law. And I guess because you've been doing this for so long, what other emerging trends have you noticed post-COVID or during COVID that have been beneficial?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. Virtual parenting time is the big one. That's the big kahuna. I mean, it's so prevalent all throughout the world. And related to virtual parenting time, I know you mentioned supervised access, and virtual parenting time is used to subsidize that because supervised access can be incredibly expensive. It just is incredibly expensive, and a lot of families struggle with that. And so if you have a client that is doing supervised access and they perhaps can't afford to do it every week or whatever it might be, a lot of times people will tend to use virtual parenting time to supplement that, to try to cut down the amount of time between parenting time. And so that's a really big trend. Another trend that I've seen just, working in the legal tech field is asynchronous mediation. I find it pretty fascinating. So I know in Michigan in particular, my home state, there's a program that's being released to families all throughout the state that allows people in certain types of cases. So it's a lot of times it's perhaps, small claims or property disputes or whatever it might be, to mediate in what's basically a text-based mediation using like a third-party software that's owned by the state. So it's a pretty interesting concept. I think it's probably a matter of time until a company finds out a way to monetize that and to make it widespread available on a global scale. Maybe that's already in the works. I don't know, but it is a pretty interesting idea.
That's funny that you mentioned that, because I feel like mediation is one of those places where you can say whatever you want and
It's
you
kind of
will
the
never.
Wild West.
Honestly, I feel it's very helpful because part of what we do, I find family law is the most emotionally charged type of law that you can
Oh, yeah.
practice, because there's nothing more emotional than your family members and your children.
Right.
So I feel mediation, and here in Ontario we have mandatory mediation.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you file an application, there has to be a mandatory mediation done first before you go into litigation. So, and I think putting those two people in the same room and having that opportunity to say whatever you want, nobody's going to know about it. I think it creates, in a weird way, it creates a safe space for everyone to just let go of whatever emotions they're feeling and then focus on the end goal, which essentially is the health and well-being of your children. But
Right.
so I don't know how beneficial a text mediation might be.
Yeah,
in
it's
that.
only for certain types of cases that it's,
Oh,
it's
okay.
really being used. And I just find it to be an interesting idea. Like, for any of my clients, I'm going to try to push for in-person mediation or Zoom or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But it is interesting how technology has advanced to the point where people are mediating via text, utilizing a third party software.
Yeah.
It's different. I just
A little bit scary.
yeah, it is a little bit scary. It's it's not scary. Our Family Wizard's not scary.
No, it's not. Our family word is not. It's
Right.
not scary. So the OFW app has been a trailblazer in sort of balancing or respecting parental rights, but then also creating a safe space for victims of domestic violence. Has there been any memorable cases where you have seen the app working in real life to do that?
Yes. And so I'll tell you about one that I did. It was a couple years ago now. So the client, it was my own client. She came to be in a really, really tough place. She was getting divorced from her husband, and they had just had their first child. The child was maybe 2 or 3 months old when they came to me. And she came to me because she was absolutely a victim of domestic violence. She needed to get out, and I'm really happy for her that she did do so that early
Right.
in their marriage. But there was just problems everywhere. He would scream at her, otherwise cause her immense emotional harm, and it was time for her to get out. One of my first recommendations during the separation was for them to use Our Family Wizard, because when they separated, she moved out to her parents' house. He would send her berating text messages, and it was just brutal, and it was clear that this needed to be documented in a clear and concise and easy manner. So
Yeah.
just at a fundamental level, that was my initial recommendation. But as the case went on, it became clear how many of these tools were really helpful for them. For example, they would struggle with being on time for parenting time exchanges.
Okay.
And so they ended up using our GPS check-in feature to verify their arrival at the parenting time exchange, so there was no longer an argument about the facts of what happened. We're trying to
Right.
eliminate that, and it worked. There was an issue where the dad refused to give mom any of the health insurance information pertaining to the minor child because he didn't want to pay any kind of out-of-pocket deductible, and
Oh my
so
God.
so he just refused to give it. And then we go to mediation and he still has not given it, and it got to the point where we said, okay, we don't want to throw away this mediation session. We were like really close to an agreement, and the health insurance information's a hang up. How about you just go and put it in the info bank, within 7
Right.
days of us leaving here? And sure enough, he did it, and that was what saved that mediation session. So,
Wow.
you just never know how one of these features is going to impact your client. And, it was really, really helpful to have all of those features available in this case.
Exactly.
It's not so often where you see every single feature be needed, but that was one of the cases where it was, and it just makes it so helpful for when the situations arise.
That's amazing. And the one thing that I'm sure I'm not alone in loving it is the fact that you cannot amend or delete or change any of those features.
Oh, right. I mean, there's so much room to manipulate messages or to gaslight someone and to make them try to make something look true that's not. And every piece of information that goes into our family wizard is securely stored, and it's available when the parties need it. Our hope is that they don't need it. Our hope is that they utilize the features like perhaps the tone meter to not send each other inflammatory messages, or whatever other feature they might be needing to improve their communication, improve their co-parenting relationship, and hopefully they don't need to use it in court. But inevitably it does in many cases. People need it, and we have it available for them. And so, it's just so easy to manipulate things, and we just do not allow that.
It's so easy to manipulate that now I think there's this trend of not even sending text messages if someone knows they're going to be in litigation, because they know that it can be used against them at some point. And so now there's a lot happening on the phone, or there's a lot happening at exchange in person, things that cannot be so easily documented. But I know that one of the app's feature is to have the phone calls.
So I am happy to talk about this because this is a brand new thing for Ontario. And so it's...
By the way, the only reason I found out about it is because I spoke with Scout about it.
Oh, yeah? No, that's totally fine. I mean, we're not trying to hide anything. We just want to... We're kind of waiting to release formal details about an arrival date or anything until we have it. But what I can say is that it's coming very, very soon to parents in Ontario. There's a calls feature which is immensely helpful for parents to communicate amongst themselves, but even more importantly, parents to communicate with the minor children.
Yes.
And so the basic crux of it is that it's audio and video calls, very similar to FaceTime audio and FaceTime video, but we have different components that are added to it that keeps family law cases in mind. The main one being that over time, as the feature is fully released to Ontario parents, they're going to have the ability to have recording and transcription. So if they're doing a video call, that entire call can, including their faces and mannerisms and everything, can be recorded, and then we'll also have a transcription, a transcribed copy of everything that was said available as well. I like to describe those things as like a comparison would be like bumpers when you're bowling. You don't necessarily want to have to use the bumpers, but if a parent needs those bumpers and they need a little extra support to try to get their message across and to hopefully avoid problems, then those tools are available.
So Brad, you're licensed as a domestic relations mediator by the state of Michigan. What typically is the first piece of advice that you give to clients when they first come to you for help?
Sure. I mean, I like to remind clients that we can make it an interest-based mediation. We don't have to go straight into talking about numbers related to child support. We don't need to go straight into trying to determine which equity goes to who for the for any kind of business interests or the marital home. We can start by talking about what's important, and my hope is that their first response will be the children if they have them. And so realigning the common interest in trying to provide a positive life for their children can hopefully start a mediation session on a strong note and to guide them toward a more amicable mediation session and hopefully reach, a consent order or resolution.
That's actually a good point. And sometimes I find even if you start off with those good intentions, because there's so much precedence, well, here in Ontario at least, I don't know how Michigan family laws are, but here there's so much precedence that sometimes it's conflicting. Mm-hmm. So even though the right thing is what everybody's goal is or what, same interests, sometimes along the way, the outcome can seem very unfair. But I also know that you do a lot of work educating and speaking at conferences and educating industry professionals essentially. Right. So do you have any tricks up your sleeve about what you say at these conferences that could potentially shape the outcome of, those outcomes that we don't like in certain family cases?
Well, at the outset of any presentation, big or small, I like to start by talking to my audience about what the value proposition is. Like, why are we here? Why am I talking to you? And that generally is because our family wizard provides them some type of value or benefit that they would not get by using another alternative or not using a co-parenting app at all. So if I'm talking to a court and I'm talking to, let's say, the SCJ justices, I'm going to talk about how when parents use our family wizard, their likelihood of having ongoing litigation goes down, and that parents can save money on litigation costs, and hopefully those justices can focus on issues that truly need judicial intervention. If I'm talking to lawyers, I'm going to talk about how the use of our family wizard can provide their clients benefits and improve their co-parenting relationship, and hopefully maintain a positive sentiment about the legal work that the lawyer did for them.
Yeah.
And when those clients carry that positive sentiment and they're getting along with their co-parent, they're going to be much more likely to refer other clients to that law firm, and it just creates a win-win scenario where the parents save money, they have a better co-parenting relationship, and it ultimately trickles down to benefit their kids. So I just try to talk about those the values and what we're trying to accomplish right away, because I don't want to come across too salesy. That's not really my job. My job is more to just to be an advocate for the program and to make sure that people know what we're all about. I don't go to the conferences trying to secure a financial pledge from justices or lawyers or anything like that. I'm just trying to chat and have a conversation. I'll talk about the Red Wings. I'll talk about the Maple Leafs. It doesn't matter, what it is. And ultimately, those personal relationships help me get through to people and allow me to make a difference in what they're trying to accomplish.
And that's exactly what we're doing differently here at ALF with family law. You could hear horror stories on a daily basis of people going through litigation and they still don't have a custody agreement in place. And it's been going on for 2, 3, 5, 10 years. And the children have grown during that time. It's, you don't press the pause button on their age while you take care of this.
You're probably not even talking about the same things.
Exactly. And there's also, because it takes so long, there's also the added cost. And you could easily spend $200,000, $300,000 on legal fees alone. And that's exactly what our motivation was in opening up a family law practice at ALF. And the reason why we use the app, because we want to speed up that time as much as possible and reduce the cost.
Right.
I mean, it's not because we don't like money, because we do. But at the end of the day, there's a difference between values, and this is someone's life,
right,
and someone's children, that for us takes precedence. So, I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. I had a client very recently, 3 minor children, one of them 2 years old, going through a separation and obviously seeking divorce. There's a domestic element to it as well. I think because of the proactive and different approach I took with counsel on the other side, her and I were able to speak openly. We were so focused on the end goal and how to get this done as fast as possible. I think we broke a record because we had I want to say the application was filed in June of last year, or early July, late June, early July. We had our first case. I asked for an early case conference. Must have been within a month or 4 weeks of that. And then we had our case conference in November. Both times we went there with minutes of settlement. We pretty much didn't have to argue or fight or do anything at all. We went there with the agreement. The judge signed off on it. They're co-parenting wonderfully right now. And the matrimonial home is set to be sold. and there is a settlement conference scheduled in 4 months from now. So if you look at it from the beginning to end and what's been achieved, it's pretty remarkable. But I think the only reason we did that was your app and the fact that we had great communication. I had great communication with the opposing counsel.
Right, that's perfect. I mean, and it makes Our Family Wizard and ALF Law, such a good partnership, because a client, a prospective divorcee, can go to you knowing that they're going to have a lawyer with values. They're going to have a lawyer that's not going to be short-sighted and is not going to try to take advantage of them, and they're going to give them that personal attention to focus on what their priorities are and get them to the finish line as quickly and efficiently as possible without sparing any details. And then they're going to be able to use Our Family Wizard and have positive co-parenting communication and ultimately leave hopefully in a better place than when they came to you.
Exactly.
And that's it just creates a win-win scenario for everybody.
Exactly. So Brad, thank you so much for coming. I think we've had a very productive conversation. And before we close off, what takeaway or message would you like our listeners to remember about your app, Our Family Wizard?
I think it's important that all the parents that we work with know that we are a mission-based company. We put a tremendous amount of pride into our mantra, which is helping families living separately thrive. And at that mantra and that mission is at the core of everything that we do.
Yeah.
We work to provide as many communication-related features to parents at a reasonable cost. We work to make sure that those features empower them to improve their co-parenting relationship, so those benefits and that improved co-parenting relationship can trickle down to their kids. Mm-hmm. And I want everybody listening to this to know that when they go and they hire an ALF lawyer, that they're going to have not only positive value-based representation, but they're gonna have the opportunity to use a software like Our Family Wizard to hopefully find themselves in a better place at the conclusion of their representation than when they started.
That's amazing. Thank you again for being here.
Happy to be here. Thank you so much.
This podcast is brought to you by ALF LLP. Save the 17th of each month for new episodes of Law That Leads. Connect with us on social media for updates and exclusive content. You can find us on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook at ALF LLP.